Hey, welcome back to another video. The Easter event has just finished, and even though my previous event review performed pretty poorly, I still wanted to make one on Easter because I feel like there's a lot to talk about. Although not in the same way there's a lot to talk about with the Christmas event. Sorry in advance, this video is gonna be a lot more negative than my Christmas review, and a lot more negative than most of my videos. And at least I like to think it's for a good reason. I gave the devs a lot of grace with a lot of stuff in the Christmas event because it was their first time trying this new formula, but now it's the second time, so I'm gonna be a bit more blunt about problems that haven't been addressed yet. If more negative videos with a lot of critiques get you feeling worked up, maybe skip this one. You don't have to watch it if that sort of content upsets you. And believe me, I love being positive about things, but I also want to be honest, and that does sometimes mean being critical when I'm displeased. So let's just get to it, okay? First let's cover the Toon changes to start off on a more positive note. Exen got some buffs this new event. Now, instead of filling a machine by 10% when getting on it, he fills it up by 20%, making him way better at extracting. They also fixed an issue he had where his ability wouldn't work on treadmills. Now it does. This buff was actually pretty awesome, and even though I don't play Exen, I'm happy he got some love for the people who do love Exen. On to Coco. Coco also got some buffs. The duration on her bonbon was increased to 10 seconds from 5 seconds, and honestly fair enough. Coco always felt really underwhelming since her bonbons barely felt like they did anything with only 5-second uptime, but with this extra duration they have more oomph to them, and Coco actually feels like a pretty decent buffer now. Next tune I want to talk about is Flight, and I bet you're wondering, wait, Flight didn't get any changes? And yeah, you're right, that's exactly why I want to talk about him. Now, don't get me wrong, Flight is good, but there is something I'm disappointed he didn't get. Ever since the treadmill update came out, us Flight enjoyers noticed how if you used your gust on a treadmill machine, the buff would expire before your gust would vanish. You need to leave and re-enter the gust to reactivate the buff. This has been an issue with him since launch, but now it's an even bigger issue with treadmills being added to the game. I just wish the devs would patch this because Flight feels like he should be way better at treadmills, and also buffing people on treadmills should be more encouraged. It's not a big deal, but it is something I'm sad they didn't do, especially since it basically means Flight will have this issue for another year until maybe they address it next Easter, since the devs are so adverse to making changes to the holiday tunes outside of their holiday. There are some Twisted changes as well, so let's check them out. Twisted Coco got a change where she can now jump over objects, which is super cool. No notes. When that sprout bug happened a while ago where he could leap over stuff, it was insanely fun and super scary, so I'm really happy that Quell actually got inspiration from that and gave it to Coco. Bassie on the other end? This might be a bit of a hot take, but I actually really didn't like the Bassie changes. I do feel like Bassie needed some buffs, because she was pretty underwhelming for a main, but I think they went overboard with giving her a whole new ability. The ability in it of itself is cool, but I feel like Bassie does way too much now. Like, her attention span was already decently high, and her flowers could use a few buffs to make them more dangerous and harder to avoid, but then they give her a ranged attack on top of all of that and it just feels off somehow. Like, V is an example where she has a ton of abilities. She has an infinite hearing range for failed skill checks, she can put up ads on your screen, she can slow you, and she has a high attention span like other mains. But they all feel like they work well together. The ads get in your way to make it easier to mess up skill checks so she can chase you down and debuff you. But Bassie feels like the ability was tacked on, which like, yeah, it literally was, what's my point? But like, it could have been implemented a lot more cleanly, honestly. The ability is cool, but I feel like they could have just buffed what she already had before by making her spawn way more flowers and have them be harder to avoid. It would be more fun than just giving her an extra ability, at least to me. Not to mention, the ability is programmed really strangely. For some reason, when she uses it, her attention span and chase start working completely differently to how every other Twisted works. Her attention goes from 3 seconds to 10, which is the same as Ginger, by the way, and she won't get off of you even if other tunes get in the way. Even if you're long out of her line of sight and the distractor is trying to grab her, she just ignores them completely. And like, that just makes her easier to distract. The biggest challenge that would have come from Bassie as a distractor would have been how long her animation was. If Scraps and Goob already desync your circling and force you to do maneuvers to keep their attention, Bassie would be even worse. But no, she just stays on you anyway, so distractors were kind of robbed of an interesting interaction that could shake up their gameplay. This ability is just really strange, half-baked, and feels really shoddily implemented, honestly. I feel like it could have used more time in the oven. With this event, we also got a new map, just like the Christmas event. And how does the second Easter map hold up compared to last year's map? Honestly, it's not that great. The floor is huge, and like, most of the time that'd be a positive, since small maps are annoying. But this floor also feels so desolate. It's gigantic, and most of it is just taken up by a bunch of empty space and nothing. Honestly, the best part of this map is the egg painting segment of the little ramp going down. That was super neat. But that is literally just one spot in this entire floor, which is like, I'm pretty sure is the biggest floor we've gotten so far. They could have had the opportunity to put a lot of interesting stuff, considering how huge it is. There's a ton of real estate to use. But a huge chunk of the map is just a flat plain with bushes and rocks, and the other side is also pretty uninteresting. It's just a pretty empty lobby with barely any furniture. This map only has one interesting landmark, which is the egg painting room, and everything else feels like a generic map with no defining features. Which also makes the map super difficult to navigate, especially on blackouts. You waste so much time trying to find the machines because it's just huge, and the lack of landmarks also makes it really easy to get lost and hard to describe your location to your friends if you need them to come to you. Me and my friends often take less than a week to naturally come up with callouts to be able to locate each other on maps, but this map, we're having so much trouble describing where we were. The only good landmarks to use are the egg room and this fuck-ass gate, and it doesn't even help that they're on the same side of the map and so close to each other. So it's just not the fact that it's massive that makes me dislike it, it's the fact that it's massive and uninteresting. There was so much space to fit really cool stuff in here, but they just decided to make it really empty and with nothing really of note for you to look at. But the size also makes me wonder, if Garden View had this huge ass room, why did they give it to the Easter Toons? I swear, this massive size would have been perfect for Sprout's map, and from an in-universe perspective, why even waste all this real estate on a floor that can only be accessible to guests temporarily? What a waste of resources from a logistical standpoint. Sprout would make way better use out of this room. Kind of a nitpick, but yeah, funny oversight in the lore. Maybe Arthur and Delilah were just really bad at running a business, I guess. So yeah, I think this map is pretty weak. I'd even say it's the worst holiday map. While on the topic of the map, Quell also teased a cool thing before the update came out. She showed a gate and said, things may even be discovered or unlocked over time in the event. And yeah, that was super hype. Some sort of secret entrance we'd have to discover a way to open as a community, like a big puzzle or an ARG. So how did this go? Well, there wasn't actually a way to open the door. It just opened by itself after 2 Easter updates. Honestly, I hate this. They had the perfect opportunity to do something super cool and interactive with the community. An ARG-esque puzzle where you have to work together as a community to unlock it would have been super cool. And they could have even still had the weekly format if they wanted. Maybe there'd be multiple passwords, and each week we'd get a puzzle to find out one of them, and then when we got all of them, we'd type it out and unlock the gate. But nope, the gate just opens by itself, so all we can do is sit there and wait. When the gate finally opened, how was it? Honestly, not that great either. We learn exactly one thing, that Whispering Flower is diegetic and was made by Delilah for some purpose. What purpose? Not shown. This was such a nothing burger, honestly. Like sure, it does somewhat reveal Whispering Flower as an important piece in the Bassie lore, but Bassie's lore already worked well without it, and since we don't learn anything about it either, it's just nothing. It's just a nothing lore drop that changes nothing. I've come to notice through my character analyses that Dandy's Road kinda has a problem with how they handle lore. It's all theoretical. Like, Whispering Flower is important in some way. Nothing is shown about it, so we just know it's important and literally nothing else. Flight has some sort of trauma he has hidden in his scrapbook. Literally no hints to what it could be. People did have the headcanon that it was tied to the fact that he doesn't fly often, due to the fact that we never see him do it in-game, which led people to believe he was lying to Flutter in that one interaction. But that was disproven, so we're back to square one. We just know nothing. Brusha seemingly changed after the show debuted her, but that's never explored or elaborated. We don't even know if it had to do with her falling out with Tisha. Brusha and Tisha had a falling out, and we don't know anything about it. Buxton has nightmares at night. We don't know anything about those. Tegan is greedy, apparently, and we literally never see it. Sylvester refuses to take off his armor for any reason. We never explore that. Rudy is trying to delude himself that it's always Christmas, and for what? We never learn anything about it. And if it is to try and fight the whole instinct to isolate holiday tunes have, it's clearly not working, so why is he still trying? Why was Shelly the least popular main? That's never explored. Why are Sprout and Cosmo so dependent on each other? That's never explored. Why was V gonna get replaced? That's kinda messed up. Replacing an entire tune with a new tune? And if being replaced is an option, why didn't Delilah replace Bassie with a new Bassie? That's never explored. What does Astro feel guilty about exactly? Never explored? What is the Icor operation exactly? We never explore anything substantial. So back to the lore room. It's cool on a surface level, right? We got this cut up letter that is likely from Flight trying to reach someone. There's also the possibility that it's Delilah's letter to Coco and she's cut up letters to hide her handwriting, but it's less likely that it being Flight who did it. There's the syringe on the wall of the ominous text, "Find me," and then the video of Coco receiving the whispering flower to give to Bassie. On a surface level, this is all cool. It would be exciting to have these reveals happen, but do these reveals go anywhere? No, nothing comes of this. Do we have to wait another year for this to be followed up on now? Probably, and that just kills the entire momentum and suspense of the mystery like this. By next year, we're barely gonna remember what happened this year, and it won't be as exciting as if it was actually a planned out thing with a beginning and end throughout the event. Like, honestly, imagine the weekly updates thing kept going even after the door opened. Imagine we could search for clues and find out more about this room until it culminates in maybe the game hinting that we need to bring Flight and Coco to the room by having you and your friend play as them and go to the room together. Then maybe we do bring them there and we get a super cool lore-heavy conversation between them where Flight explains why he wants to talk to Coco and why he's worried. This is just an idea I threw at the wall, but it would have been something. It would have been something actually substantial that you could dig your teeth into, instead of just a setup with no payoff. But by the end of the event, they didn't do anything with this. It's a bunch of interesting concepts that could go somewhere cool, but they just don't. Which is a pattern for this game's storytelling that is starting to haunt me more and more, and this lore room just reaffirmed my growing opinions. Onto the floor hazard now. Spring Fever is the new floor hazard added of the Easter event, and considering how peak iced over floors were, how is Spring Fever? First, I'll explain what Spring Fever does exactly. Spring Fever makes the floor really pink, and everyone, including Twisteds, get a 50% speed boost, making them faster. But also, Toons get the Tired debuff, making their stamina regenerate slower, while Twisteds get the Dazed debuff, making their attention span shorter. Honestly, this floor event is kind of boring. The fact everyone gets faster proportional to each other means this doesn't really bring any cool interactions. It doesn't make distracting any harder, it's the same, just faster. Honestly, this floor event is my least favorite out of the 4 of them right now. It unironically makes the game easier sometimes. And don't come at me with, well, what about Tired 2? Yeah, you get Tired 2, but the fact you get faster at a baseline means you feel less of a need to run, and you waste less stamina to get to places anyway. Not to mention, even if you're in danger and have to run, the fact you move way faster also allows you to get to different spots easier. Yeah, the twists are also faster, so it's not technically easier to get away from them, but like, if you get spotted in a bad place, like next to Elevator in Shelly Room, That's usually a pretty tough spot to escape because there aren't any nearby circling spots, but well, with Spring Fever you can very easily make it to the dinosaur skeleton without wasting much stamina, and the Daze debuff will make it easier to lose the Twisteds anyway. Floor hazards are fun when they challenge you in a unique way, and honestly Spring Fever just isn't a challenge, it's just the game goes faster now. Stamina items almost completely negate the stamina downside, not to mention it's way easier to work as a team when you can converge on your teammates insanely fast thanks to your speed. The only time this floor hazard actually feels like a floor hazard is when you're playing solo, because the faster patrol patterns for the Twisteds do make a huge difference when you don't have teammates to work together with. But I typically just run Dog Plush Train Whistle, so even if you do get spotted, just distract them for a bit to regain your stamina, and then you can leave easily. So like, I perceive this floor hazard differently depending on 3 situations. In coordinated lobbies, it's a cakewalk and makes the game way easier. In public lobbies, it doesn't feel much different to regular floors, it's just faster. And in solo, it makes the game even more boring than it already is in solo, and it exasperates the literal worst thing about playing solo, which is the Twisteds not letting you move out of your hiding spot for minutes on end. And it really sucks because there is so much potential for super cool floor hazards for Easter, and I feel like they really dropped the ball with this one. Here's some alternative floor hazards I came up with on the spot that will be more fun for me. An overgrown floor, where bushes and branches grow around the map, creating extra obstacles that can block off escape routes, but also be used as cover against Twisteds. It might have to have some coding to prevent soft-locking people, or maybe the vines would vanish and regrow somewhere else every few minutes or so, and it'd create a dynamic, ever-changing map. An explosive floor. The floor is littered with hidden Easter eggs that, when you step close to them, will explode and release a cloud that'll cover your screen and give the Toon the Tier 3 debuff for a few seconds. Or maybe an egg hunt floor. When the floor starts, there will be a chime to indicate that an egg hunt has started, and players will have to find the eggs within the time limit to prevent something bad from happening. Maybe if they fail, they can receive the confused or the illness effect. These might be a bit underbaked, but as I mentioned, I came up with them on the spot, but I honestly think I'd prefer literally any of these over the pretty uninteresting one we ended up getting. The eggs were also a new item added with the event. They're just like the cookies in Christmas, they appear randomly in Dandy Shop to be collected for free. At first, when I saw them for the very first time, I thought they were super cool. When the cookies came out during Christmas, I got really excited for what the other events would bring to the table with their own special items. So what do the eggs do that's different from Christmas? Well, increase the speed of allies around you by 15%. It's just the cookies again. Honestly, that's so disappointing. There was so much potential for each event to have their own little buff with their own special little item, but the eggs are just cookies, but reskinned, and that's so awful. Imagine if instead of a speed buff like the cookies, the eggs gave a stamina aura and instantly restored a small amount of stamina to allies, or maybe an extraction or a skill check boost aura. It'd be so neat to make the Easter event feel more unique, but nope, I guess we just get cookies too. It's also not helped that they don't spawn regularly. I brought this up in the Christmas event, but the eggs don't spawn naturally, and you can only get them through the shop, and honestly that's super sad too. The buff isn't that usable anyway, the range is pitiful and hard to make use of in an emergency, and if they spawned on floors as common or uncommon items, it would make it so you'll be able to use them more. Because right now, their only purpose is to be used at the start of the floor with your friends to give everyone a big speed boost. It's not really worth holding on to that much. So yeah, the eggs were legitimately pretty disappointing. Give them something different than speed, I beg you! The event also returned the advent calendar, and honestly I loved it. I loved the advent calendar, and the Bassy skin was absolutely adorable. The Coco skin was shit from the ass, but like, it's fine, Coco's used to getting awful looking skins anyway. Not much to say about it, it was pretty good, just like the Christmas one. Now, on to the golden skins. The Easter Toons also received their golden skins, and honestly, I was pretty excited about it. I do love the golden skins here, they're so pretty, and the Easter Toons wear them so well. The quests, however, I do have some of the same problems. Coco's quest was still an actual nightmare to complete. Even after the devs increased the rare twisted spawn rate, it still takes forever to meet enough Cocos. Honestly, who would have guessed they're not actually addressing the underlying issue of RNG for quests feeling bad, and instead just increasing the odds of rare twisteds wouldn't fix anything? What? Who said that? But yeah, you get the sentiment. I love the golden skins themselves, and not much else from that whole system. Even if the rare twisted spawn odds are higher now, it's still frustrating RNG to deal with, and I'm a bit disappointed in Quell that she didn't actually address the concerns of the luck-based quests like she promised she would. Upping the rare odds does not address the underlying issue of luck as challenge not being fun. Not to mention, beating floor 20 as Bassi of Whispering Flower? Wow. Just wow. This is the epitome of a terrible quest. There's multiple things wrong with this. First, you're forced to use Whispering Flower, which, fine, after the rework, it's a pretty alright trinket, but it does reduce the amount of trinkets you can use for either survival or machine completion. Second, you're forced to play Bassi, the worst extractor in the game, tied with Blot. Unless you count Shrimpo, but he's bad on purpose, so I don't count him. And Bassi has the same movement stats as Pebble. So, you see where this is going? This quest is so uninteresting because it's so easy to get to floor 20 as Bassi. With her 5-star movement speed and high stamina plus Whispering Flower, she's basically untouchable. But with her low extraction, it takes forever and it gets super dull and boring really fast. So this isn't actually a challenge of skill, it's just a really boring chore, because each floor takes forever. Which reminds me of a certain other quest people have complained about before. Sure, you can get other people in your lobby to help you achieve that goal faster, but unless you have friends who are good at the game, you're relying on matchmaking to give you lobbies that won't die on floor 3, and that's a big ask for this community. The reason Bobette's floor 20 quest works so well for me is because Bobette is a good solo Toon. She isn't abysmally slow at machines and has well-rounded stats that allow her to solo, not to mention her active ability is useful in a pinch in case you're put in a tough position. Bassi doesn't have any of that. She's an awful solo Toon, so you're relying on other people to reach your goal, and good luck with that in this goddamn game where most people have the survival instincts of a tray of peas. The fact you have to be playing Bassi to progress these quests also makes meeting Bassi be more RNG based than Bobette's, because as I said, Bobette's quest felt more fine because she was guaranteed at floor 20, and it's an easy milestone to reach with one of the best mains to do solo runs with, just being behind Gordy. But with Bassi, getting to floor 20 is actually so time consuming, it's insane. And if you don't get lucky for lobby, and they die at like floor 15, you have to spend forever getting that last bit just for one Bassi. I do hope the devs understand that you just can't copy-paste quests that were made for one Toon onto another. Something that is challenging and fun on one Toon might be completely different in another one. The thing that baffles me more is the fact that they do get that copy-pasting quest doesn't work, because Coco didn't have the get to floor 10 with fondant bag equipped quest like Cole had with her trinket. It makes sense why she didn't, because unlike the Cole trinket, fondant bag is actually a good trinket Coco can make use out of, so it isn't even a challenge. So they swapped it out with complete 35 total floors, and honestly nice, I like that quest. Just as a thought experiment to illustrate my point even more, imagine they release a quest that says, get chased by at least one Twisted for 5 uninterrupted minutes without getting hit, and the 3 Toons you have to complete it with are Pebble, Rudy, and Sylvester. You see what I mean? For Pebble, it's a breeze no matter what build you have on him, kind of boring even, just 5 minutes of nothing but walking around. For Rudy, it's a fun challenge. You equip Snakes in a Can and Peppermint Icing, you manage your stamina, and you reach your goal in a fun way. For Sylvester, this is nightmare fuel. You need to prepare items to regain your stamina, prepare the perfect trinket build, and even with a ton of preparations, you might still have a hard time lasting the entire 5 minutes without getting hit. It's the same for Bassi and Bobette here. The quest works well for Bobette because of her stats, but it's super unfair for Bassi. It's not even that hard on Bassi, it's just really annoying and unfun, and ends up feeling more like a chore than an actual fun challenge to overcome. In conclusion, the golden skins themselves were nice, they looked really good just like the Christmas ones, but the quest still had a lot of problems the Christmas quests did, and honestly, I'm pretty disappointed in Quell and the devs for that. They promised change, and you can see in my Christmas review, I took their word for it. I wasn't as harsh as I maybe should have been in it because, well, they addressed the complaints and we're gonna see fixes soon. But no, it's the same problems again. They didn't actually address anything, they just blatantly lied to our face that there was gonna be improvements and then just didn't do anything. And yeah, I'm gonna repeat myself again, but increasing the rare twisted chances did not address the RNG issue in the slightest. Like, making the chance for a rare higher doesn't fix the fact that this is still based on luck and not on your skill. Golden Quest should be based on skill. So yeah, enough of the Golden Quests, let's move on to the skins. This event also came with loads of skins, and honestly, compared to the Christmas batch, they were quite weak. Don't get me wrong, there are some great ones, but there are more misses than there were in the Christmas event. A lot of them feel pretty boring and like recolors of a slight change. Some of them don't feel very Eastery, like this Brightney skin, it feels like it could be in Dial's shop like pastel color scraps, right? What does this have to do with Easter? Most of them leaned towards the floral and spring vibes, which was nice, but there were barely any egg-themed skins with the actual Easter theming, which is something I was looking forward to. Some funny egg skins would have been cute. And even the skins that leaned towards floral felt so forced. Like, a ton of them were just, Toon now has pastel colors, and we shoved some flowers on them to justify it being an Easter skin. Buxton is just blue with butterflies stuck to him. They just gave Astro one flower and we're done with it. Glisten just has flowers all over him for some reason, and it's like, Easter is hard to make skins for, I get it. Unlike Halloween and Christmas, Easter's aesthetic is a lot more limited, since it's basically eggs, rabbits, and pastels. But if you want to include floral as a theme for the Dandy event, at least commit to it rather than do these half-baked pastel skins with flowers shoved on just so you know they're Easter related. Like, make the bow on Glisten's back a big flower, Lifeweaver style, or if you still want them to be green, make them 2 big leaves, and he's wrapped around in flowery vines, or make them butterfly wings, that would also look really cool. Maybe make Astro skins be wrapped in a bush of lavender flowers instead of a regular blanket or something. Make the key on Buxton's back butterfly shaped or flower shaped. Anything except these half-baked recolors with flowers stuck on, please. And honestly, some other skins don't even bother with the theme. Say what you want about Funny Bunny, I agree that it's hideous, but at least it committed to the Easter theme. Brusha is supposed to be an egg painter, and huh? Where? I mean, the skin is nice, and the colors are nice, but instead of just recoloring Brusha and giving her some slightly different accessories, why not give her like a bag on her side full of unpainted eggs or something? Something that actually makes her look like she's painting Easter eggs. I do think a lot of the skins for this event felt really half-baked, and I think it's because Quell tried to give everyone something. They probably spread the design team really thin if most of what they could come up with was pastel with flowers on top. Like, I love the Circus Trio skins, but what the hell are these? How are they Easter skins? They look like Dial Shop skins with fancy effects. I hope you enjoyed them more than me, but the skins were overall pretty disappointing and definitely a weaker batch of skins compared to Christmas, and even the first Halloween batch. Here's my tier list of all the skins if you're wondering. There's also some new merch, and yeah, it looks alright. I didn't get any of it this time because I have my Bobette plushie and I'm satisfied. But Dandy's World merch is always pretty good, so if you like it, I'm sure you'll have a good time with it. Wilting was kinda mid as well. It wasn't bad, but it also wasn't good, you know? The lyrics were kind of repetitive at times, and we didn't get to see a new side to Bassie like we got to see for Bobette, which was pretty disappointing. Oreo also feels really wasted here. I love Oreo, and she's so talented, especially when she makes crazy voices for insane characters in her songs. Her voice in All Eyes on Me is insanely good. But they didn't make use of this talent Oreo has to voice crazy characters, and she ends up doing a pretty flat performance for Twisted Bassie at the end, when I think Oreo would have killed it with a more out there performance of Bassie going crazy. At least it's better than Locked Away or whatever. Overall, I think this event was kind of a flop. It was pretty uninteresting, and it's not even because a ton of it had the same features of the Christmas event. A ton of the stuff that was exactly the same as the Christmas event was stuff I liked, like the golden skins themselves, not the quests. The advent calendar were also things I liked and was really excited about. The things I didn't enjoy were the things from this event specifically. The new floor is pretty boring. It was huge, but it also had like nothing going on in it at the same time. The floor hazard was quite uninteresting, barely changing the game in a substantial way and actually making the game feel easier at times, while also exasperating one of the game's most annoying traits in others. The skins had more misses than hits for me, although that's personal opinion of course. The eggs just being a copy of the cookies when there was definitely room for something different was also really stupid. And the gate was also handled super badly. They had us excited for something cool, and then it was just a dumb thing that progressed by itself. And then after it was unlocked, it was one of the worst, most boring lore rooms in the entire game. What a nothing burger. But yeah, I'm sorry for this video being way more negative than usual. I usually don't like being too negative, but I also promised myself to be honest in my videos, and I won't lie, this event was really boring, and I frankly struggled to finish it. I'm a huge completionist, as you know, and I finished a Christmas event with like 10k bubbles because of how much fun I was having. I already had enough currency for all the skins by like week 3, and I could just buy all the skins day 1 immediately. But the Easter event, I struggled to even finish grinding the last few skins, because I basically didn't play for weeks on end and would do a handful of runs in the double basket weekends to keep up with lost time. It just didn't bring anything interesting to the table, and it was just a repeat of the same mistakes that the Christmas event committed. And like, I was able to overlook it in the Christmas event because not only it was the first time, they also promised change, so I was more optimistic about it. But now with this event coming out and there being no change at all, I'm more pessimistic, and I couldn't even bring myself to play the game half the time because of how bored I was. I hope the Halloween event has actually interesting and well thought out things, because this Easter event felt genuinely so half-baked. I swear, Spring Fever feels like a first draft for a new floor hazard they just forgot to iterate on, but I'll stop yapping now. What are your thoughts on the event? Did you like it? Did you hate it like me? I'm curious for your thoughts, so let me know. Just be respectful in the comments if you disagree with me, as always. Be sure to like the video if you liked it, maybe hype it if you have the means. Subscribe and ring the notification bell to never miss an upload from me, if you'd like. It really helps me out when you do. Join my Discord server if you'd like to hang out. We've got a small little community going, and I sometimes host runs with people there, so if you want to play with me, go there. And, as usual, thanks for listening to me yap about Dandy's World once again. Goodbye.